Hey everybody, and welcome to the FFL Solidity. So first thing I always start with, just so everybody knows, we're going into the final week of January. So we're in week 4 of 4, and the month is going to end on this upcoming Wednesday. So make sure you're checking your pending, make sure you're pushing it through, following up with the carriers and or your clients, whatever you got to do to get that business pushed through. And of course, if you need any help, please feel free to reach out to me. But I do want to go ahead and just introduce our guest speaker on the call today, which is Miss Nina D of FFL Limitless. And she has been somebody who's been absolutely crushing this business on both a personal production standpoint and now on the building side. And it's been a really beautiful thing to see. So I'm super excited to have Nina on with us today. How are you doing, Nina?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited.
Yeah, and thanks for being on. We do appreciate it.
Of course.
So just to get started, if you don't mind kind of introducing yourself, kind of how you got into FFL and kind of what that looks like for you now.
Absolutely. So you guys, I started FFL very, very, very part-time in August of 2019. And like by part-time, I mean, my first month I came in, or my first week I came in, wrote like $8,000. And then I took the next 10 days off and went to Hawaii. So like literally very part-time. Honestly, it was just like, I came from an insurance background. So I was with a captive company. I was there for about 2 years, and I heard all the bad things about FFL. So coming into FFL, I was like, oh man, like, I don't know if I want to do insurance even, like, what am I doing with my life? So basically I ended up going to a conference in November of 2019 that was in Vegas, and Grady Polson literally like dragged me there. I did not want to go at all, but I got there, and that was literally the single most, like, just the best decision I have made in my entire life. Because I went and I was sitting next to Grady the whole time, and I was actually just paying attention to what everyone was saying. I remember Teresa specifically up there talking about how she issued like 60 grand that month. And honestly, that just blew me away. So since then, I decided to go full force, head first into FFL and just the full opportunity. And honestly, like my first full year. So I always say like when I really started was like January of 2021. And that was when I basically was like, hey, I'm just going to produce. I didn't want to be hiring agents or recruiting or anything like that. I was very selfish, actually. So I was like, I'm just going to sell as much as I possibly can. And my goal was Hall of Fame. So halfway through the year, it was like June. And I was like, okay, like looking at my bank account, and I'm like, holy crap, like I've been able to save a lot of money. I've made a lot of money. Like, what is going on? Like, if I could do this, absolutely anyone can. So like I always tell people, if you're already like a month or 2 or 3 months in and you already have an agent on your team, you're way ahead of me, because it took me 9 months to hire my first agent. So that's basically it.
Awesome. And I think it's a really cool story. And I remember being like backstage with you this past annual convention, and you had mentioned to me, like when you had first come into the business, you came in with the goal in mind to really just kind of personally produce. And if you built a team, then you built a team. And it's amazing to say now, last month, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Nina, you guys issued over 2.3 million as an organization. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And roughly what were you guys doing about this time last year?
So December of 2020, we did $150,000 in volume, and then 2.3 in this last December. So it's been tremendous growth, but it's honestly all a team effort. It's been so fun.
I love that, and I think that that's amazing. So 150,000 to almost 2.4 million in one calendar year. Like, that's incredible. I'm not good at math, Nina, but I know that that's some serious growth there. So way to go, girl. Awesome. And I love how you say it's a team effort, because your group, like, you guys blew up, and you blew up fast. And what would you say is a really big attribute to that growth, or one of the biggest attributes to that growth?
Yeah, I would 100% say, like, so Hayden and I, we run FFL Limitless together. And honestly, like, he started with us last year. So he's only been with us literally for 12 months, but him and I had to just sit down and have an intentional conversation. Like, do you guys realize the opportunity that we actually have with FFL? Like, personal, you could literally make freaking Steve G made 1.6 million this year just on his own pen. Like you could literally make millions of dollars a year just personally producing. And then on the flip side, if you want to build an agency, it's just a cherry on top, right? So Hayden and I, when we had found out about the integrity opportunity, we were just like, okay, either A, we're going to get left behind and we're not going to work that hard and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, or we're like going to sacrifice a lot, all gas, no brakes. We're going to be aggressive. We're both going to sell at a high level because Sean Mike says it perfectly. Whatever you do, your agents are going to do half of. So if you're leading by example, like you freaking crush it in the field, you know? So that's why your team is growing. And that's one thing Sean literally like engraved into us. We're like, okay, we're going to sell at a high level. We're going to lead from the front and we're going to attract people to this business. So honestly, just going all in, giving certain things up too. So like we're big like vacationers. We used to love trips. We'd go to like Cancun, Hawaii, like all these different places. And we're like, okay, like we might have to not do those trips as much anymore. We're going to have to make a sacrifice the next 2 years and just simply go all in on this business. We might have to skip some birthday parties, some weekends with friends and stuff like that, but it's going to be worth it when our business grows. And that's literally exactly what we did. We're just so work focused that, I mean, at this point, it's just fun. Like, I don't even want to go on a vacation because I like feel like we might take a step back. Like, I just want to keep this going. So
I love that. So just really kind of putting your heads together, seeing that integrity opportunity and saying like, we can do this and we can do it fast if we have some non-negotiables going on. If we have some non-negotiables going on, or we have delayed gratification, right? Whether that's pushing out a trip or whatever it may be. So I think that that's a really, really big deal. And then you're really active on social media. We see you out there. You talk a lot about it. You give out great tips, and I appreciate that wholeheartedly. And I know a lot of the team does as well. But when you are talking to an agent about building, what's the first conversation that you're really having with them of like, you know, what can they control to get their organization, you know, growing quickly and maybe at a lower cost because they're just coming into the business?
absolutely. So basically, when you have to like really get to know someone when coming into this business. So are they really truly wanting to build an agency, or are they simply just wanting to personally produce? And either way, it's fine. But like for someone new coming in to build an organization, like we're talking about integrity, because that's going to be like the motivator to them. That's going to make them want to get to $1 million a month as fast as possible. Right. So like, we'll use Josh Williams as an example. So he came from social media recruit. I didn't know him at the previous agency that we worked with. He started over there after I did. And basically I had a conversation with him and he was like, hey, like FFL is not really a builder's company. You know, you hear that all the time from different insurance companies, but they don't really know, right? So when Josh came in, I really had to break down like, hey, you know, yes, overrides are great. That's great and all, but we also have this non-chargebackable VP bonus, which he was super excited about. And then talking about the exit strategy of an integrity deal, I feel like that's huge. Most companies, like especially like where I came from, I had to work there for 10 years just to be fully vested with my renewals. And even if I left to another company after 10 years, they would take them. Well, imagine working for a company for 10 years and having to rebuild and be in the same spot as you were before. So I harp on, you know, the integrity opportunity with every single person that I hire that wants to build a big business. And then I just tell them to be aggressive with every single person they're trying to bring into this business. But the way I promote it is as an exit strategy.
I love that. And I think that that's a great way to kind of, you know, phrase it and put it into, I guess, simplistic words, because there's so much going on, but, you know, it's an easy way to explain it. And you kind of hit on this, you know, with that being said, but how do you explain the integrity opportunity, you know, to new agents so that they can see kind of the bigger picture versus the just today?
Absolutely. So the way I explain it, and I like to keep it super short and sweet, because at the end of the day, like, we have to, like, we're not going to get an integrity deal unless we put in the work. So it's like I could talk to someone and explain the integrity deal to someone for like an hour, but ultimately, like, they're not going to get there unless they simply get down, get in the trenches, write a ton of business, recruit a ton of people, right? So basically, I mean, anytime anyone comes in, I just say, hey, we have a very unique opportunity with a company called Integrity Marketing Group. They're an $18 billion company within the life and health insurance space. And basically you are able to, they're a private equity firm or a company, and you're able to partner with them. And basically it's a way to kind of exit. They take away all the overhead of your business. They actually pay you a salary to keep building your business. They give you a couple $1 million up front, which is really cool. And then I push on that salary as well, because like, I think people oftentimes think like, oh, I get an integrity deal and I'm done. Well, no, they're going to incentivize you with that salary to keep building and growing your agency. So that's kind of the way I explain it. And then I just tell people, hey, like, you know, the fastest growing agent in the company that's been able to get to $1 million a month and kind of present themselves to integrity is Josh Williams, which he's on our team. And he just got to work. You know, integrity was his biggest goal, but how fast can you truly get to $1 million a month?
Awesome, and I love that. It's just kind of explaining it, but putting it in a way that pretty much everybody can understand, and also framing it in a way of anyone can do this, but it is hard work. You have to put your head down. You have to get after it, right? And Nina, I'm sure you've been in a situation where you find yourself almost having like repetitive conversations, so to say, like with that agent that's telling you they really want to grow or they really want to build, or, you know, they want to take these steps and you're giving them kind of a step and they're not taking it. What does it look like, you know, for you when you're having the next conversation? Let's just say that's me and I'm calling you and I'm like, hey, Nina, I really want to blow this thing up, but you haven't really seen me take much action.
Right. So these conversations, believe it or not, happen pretty frequently. And I just had one of these exact conversations with an agent literally 2 days ago. And basically we had a conversation about building her agency and how she really truly wants to grow this thing to the next level and to potentially get her integrity deal. And basically I broke everything down. So like, we're big on social media recruiting. We're big on putting ourselves out there. We're big on like leading from the front and selling a ton of insurance in the field, right? So yeah, she got half of those right. She started selling, and I'll break everything down. I'm like, hey, this is how many people you need to follow a day. This is how many messages you need to send a day in order to recruit X amount of people. Like, people need to get their numbers, right? They actually need to go out there and do that. So she comes back 2 days ago and she goes, hey, like, I really don't think this whole recruiting thing is for me. Like, it's really, really not working. Like, no one really wants to work with me. And I'm like, okay, how many people have you truly added and messaged on social media the last 2 days? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? Like, how many people are you actually getting in front of and presenting the FFL opportunity to? People aren't just going to come to you. Closed mouths don't get fed. Like, you have to actively, like, every single morning, every single night, I'm adding new people on social media. I'm messaging new people on social media. You can't like, if you guys are using social media as a recruiting tool, which I know you guys are, most of you are, you can't expect to post to the same people all the time and get results. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So you have to actively go out there and literally chase people and be aggressive about it. And that's what I told her. And literally the next day she's like, hey, 100 people added. And the next day, 100 people added. She's like, oh my gosh, this guy just messaged me. He wants to start. It's a guy that I added. So it's just like having those like true conversations with them. And then I always ask, if anyone ever comes to me and complains about anything, whether it's agency building side of things or personal production, my first question is, hey, do I have your permission to be completely honest with you? And they always say yes. And then, like, for example, like, we do our telesales Zoom and there's people like, hey, I've been dialing all day, I'm not closing any telesales. I'm like, can I be honest with you? They're like, yeah. I'm like, dude, you weren't on FFL sales team all day today. Like, what do you mean you're dialing all day? Like, I don't even know what you're doing, right? So just being fully transparent and like actually asking good questions and like, are they actually working or are they just saying they are?
Absolutely. And I think that that's huge, because there can be a really big misconception kind of between those things, whether it's on the personal production side or the building side, right? And I think it's just like when you're in a home, like asking a client, hey, do I have your permission to be fully transparent and honest with you? They're always going to say yeah. And especially if they want to grow or they want to build and become that, you know, next level leader or next level person, so to say. And then with that being said, you just hit kind of on telesales. How has implementing telesales kind of helped your team grow? And I know it's a really general question, but I just want you to kind of ride with it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of crazy because like the company that I come from, I was with for 2 years, they like fully transitioned over to telesales. And these guys like literally bait and switch. Like someone's requesting a free hot dog and then they're going to their house or calling them and they're overselling them an overpriced hamburger, which is like crazy to me. And these guys fully transitioned over to telesales. And I'm like, okay, like if these people can do telesales, then we 100% can as well, because we have the best leads like literally in the industry. So I know it kind of started with live transfers. People just started turning on their live transfers a little bit more. And what we came to realize as a team was live transfers literally are internet life leads. So these live transfer companies, what most of them do is they're actually calling people and they're saying, oh, okay, are you interested in life insurance? Like they're almost like selling them and then they transfer them over to you. So Josh Williams, actually, he had a live transfer and he answers and the guy was like, what do you want, bro? And Josh was like, well, you called for insurance. He's like, no, bro, you guys called me. And then he hung up. And like very quickly, we all realized like, okay, live transfers are great, but yeah, like you're paying 60, 70, 80, $100+ per lead for these leads. Why not just create our own? So basically what our team does, and like, I kid you not, when I say, you guys, like our like FFL Limitless only runs instance, 1 month, new internet, 3-month leads. Like that's all we run. Those are seriously the best leads in the company. We always have discounts on them. So like literally you can get a new agent going like that. And no one even has direct mail locked out just because it's so easy to access all those leads. And with telesales now, I mean, you can recruit and train people. Doesn't matter where they are. Doesn't matter if you're in Maryland or I'm in California. Like we can hop on a Zoom together just like this, and we can show each other how to freaking sell over Zoom or over the phone. So essentially what our agency does is we buy internet leads. To get a new agent going, we typically put them on the 1 through 3 month olds, because no one comes in and is like, oh yeah, I'm down to spend $2,000 my first day in leads, right? So we typically put them on the 1 to 3 month olds, plug them into Phone Burner. If you guys don't have Phone Burner, it's literally the best thing. It's going to be the most efficient for telesales. And we simply just plug the leads into Phone Burner, call them. Hey Mary, this is going to take 10 minutes. You either do it right then and there. We don't typically schedule appointments in the future. We just say, hey, when's a better time for us to give you a call back? From then we'll like make a note for ourselves and give them a call around that time. But yeah, I mean, 1 call closes are amazing. We, I know a lot of you guys get on there, but we have the FFL sales team. You guys could feel free to get on there, and you guys will see literally people closing on there all the time. And the coolest thing is like we could take a new agent that we bring on board, we can plug them into FFL sales team, and they're literally learning. They're sitting there listening and learning, listening to real life live calls, and they can also unmute themselves as well. So when they are presenting or they get a pickup, they unmute themselves and they'll get some coaching from the team if they don't sell it, which I mean, it's been so amazing. I would say that about 80% of our agency has transitioned, excuse me, fully to telesales. And I mean, it's definitely growing, to say at the least.
It's so crazy to think that, like, you know, just like 2-3 months ago, or, you know, 6 months ago, we were all kind of in home, and I don't want to say against virtual, but we weren't all, you know, for virtual, I guess you could say.
Yep.
And now hearing that your team is purchasing, so BPLs are like a dinosaur to you guys. Is that right?
Yeah.
You're working instance, you're working 1 month, 3 month, and you're starting your agents there because you know out of all those leads, they're going to have wins, right?
100%. Another thing is this is like, as a manager, we should know how to run every single lead. And I'm super big on diversifying lead flow too. Like they'll throw in some game time or some happy agent or whatever it is. But like with direct mail, like that, like think about the last time you filled something out and sent it back in the mail. Like it doesn't happen, right? Like I haven't checked my mailbox in like months. I feel like Hayden does that. But for real, like the instant internet leads, like the fact that like I live in Arizona, and if I look at the instance in Arizona, I'm like, okay, there's like some leads, but there's really truly not that many. I can go grab 100 instance in Hawaii and I can just sell those virtually. And I always tell people, like, if you're buying instance and you're selling telesales, there's definitely at least 5 sales in your lead pack just from calling them. That's it. So
Awesome. And I love that because it just shows people, again, anyone can do this. And with your group issuing that, 2.4 million, and you're saying that it's like 95% or more telesales, that's amazing. Especially not using, what am I looking for? Live transfers, because live transfers got hot. Everybody got on them all at the same time. And then, like you said, we're looking at $100 per lead. You're saying, hey, here's how I can get a new agent started, no matter their situation. Like, they have COVID. Okay, you're feeling okay, hop on the phones and do telesales and do some call to closes. And I've hopped on, that Zoom dial team, and it's crazy to see, just because, like you said, if someone's not closing, they're getting coaching, and it's pretty much an open forum. And like you said at the beginning, you mentioned, it's the whole team working together. And I love how that's the dynamic when it comes to not only just, day to day, but you're all on Zoom together. So although you're not sitting in the same office together, you're still more prone to be connected with one another because you're seeing each other's faces daily and giving each other feedback, things like that, learning from one another. And that's really huge, right?
Yeah. And also, like when recruiting, hey, you want me to teach you how to make $1,000 a day? Come on, fflsalesteam.com. They're going to see people sell, like, no matter what. So it's like, if you're trying to recruit people from other companies, like, they definitely don't do that. Like, we have sales in there every single day. The agents are crushing it. So, I mean, I definitely think it's great for recruiting. I mean, selling different time zones. I saw someone say in the comments, like, we have agents that live in South Carolina and they run until like 1 a.m. because they're running Hawaii time, which is so freaking cool. So you're super efficient.
Right. You always have something to do or somebody to call no matter where you live. And that's the amazing part. So leads are literally limitless, right? And that's amazing.
Yep.
Love it. And then what's one thing that you feel like you and your group do a better job at, or, you're at a 10 maybe, and not every group is at that 10. You guys do a better job at than other groups to see the growth that you guys have been seeing in the past, few months?
Yeah, I would say we're 100% obnoxious with social media. Like Tri-State's actually more obnoxious than us, but we literally are everywhere. And it's like, with social media recruiting, I think it's super duplicatable. So it's like, if I make a post about a new agent who made their first sale, I'm tagging that new agent. More than likely, they're going to repost it to their own page. So automatically, they're using social media as a recruiting platform. So it's super, super, super duplicatable. And I mean, I feel like it all stems from the top. So like, Hayden and I commit to at least 25 stories a day on Instagram. We also commit to a LinkedIn post a day. We also commit to posting X amount of times a week on Facebook, in the Facebook group, just so many different places, YouTube, uploading videos, uploading team calls, different things. So I just feel like it's so important to be just aggressive with how much you're posting, because at the end of the day, like, when people look up like any type of insurance, like training on YouTube, what are they going to find? They're going to find FFL USA's YouTube channel. So it's just like, when people are looking that up, you want them to find you. So the way they're going to find you is based on how much you truly are posting every single day. And honestly, I like to tell people, like, from the very beginning, like, even if you don't have social media yet, like, just start, create an Instagram account. Everyone should, right? But just start. Like, before I started FFL, I didn't even have a LinkedIn account. I basically created one, started using it, and some of our top producers have come from LinkedIn just because we've been so consistent with posting on there. Same thing with Instagram. And then again, it's just adding new people every single day. So like, we're good at like holding each other accountable. So like, for example, like, we have Deidre, Josh Williams. We're like, hey, let's follow 100 people right now. Like, we're always just consistently trying to get in front of new people.
Awesome. I love that because you guys are doing it like as a unit, almost like, hey, let's all do this right now and, you know, post when you're done doing it. Hey, I added my 100 people, right?
Exactly.
Or I did my LinkedIn post. I've already had 25 stories on Instagram today. And with that, it's funny because you quickly see traction, right? It's like I've had some agents, I'm like, make a LinkedIn account, and then like they don't make it, and then they make a LinkedIn account 3 months later, and they're like, wow, I wish I had done this, right?
Yep.
So you don't want to be the, wow, I wish I had done this. You want to get it done and hop on there, right?
Exactly. It's like Reels and TikTok and stuff like that. Like there's so many platforms out there where you can, it doesn't even have to be anything like complicated. Like you could be a brand new agent. You don't even have to have made any sales yet. There's so much content there that you can take. So like I take stuff from Paul all the time, like the little videos he does. I post them all the time. I take stuff from the Facebook groups that I'm in, the FFL ones, and I repost those. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your success story yet, just as long as you're consistent with the posting.
Love that. And then for the new agents on the call that are maybe just getting started, what's one piece of advice that you would give to every brand new agent that's getting started at Family First Life?
I would say 100% don't overthink anything. Don't spend like 80% of your time learning the products or learning what HCM or HMS 125 does or what kind of living benefits it has versus John Hancock or whatever. Like literally just get out there and do the work because you're going to learn along the way. The only things that you have to master are literally your phone script. That's like 80% of this business, and then rebuttals. And that's like the one thing I practice in the very beginning. And that's what we coach our agents to do. And then, yeah, just telling them basically to just get out there. And honestly, we try to get people moving as quickly as possible. So like from the moment we have a new agent come in, complete contracting in that time that they're waiting for their AmeriCo number to come in, they're doing the boot camp trainings, the virtual one, the face-to-face one. They're doing all these different trainings, watching all these different videos. That way, as soon as they get their AmeriCo writing number is the day they're buying leads and getting to work, basically. So just getting them going as fast as possible.
Awesome. And I love that. And how do you let agents know, like, hey, you don't need all 5 writing numbers before you get in the field. You just need AmeriCo?
Oh, I just tell them from the very start, like, hey, this is the process. What you're going to do first is go through contracting. As soon as you get your AmeriCo writing number, it's more than enough to sell with because that's who 90% of our business is written through. You can basically start to sell and buy leads. And then we always tell people to, like, you know, with Prosperity, for example, like it comes in so fast, like they fill out the contracting. It should typically come in within 24 to 48 hours. So filling that out right away, just so they have like one backup carrier, but I mean, they can get out there with AmeriCo for sure.